Pulisic scores and wins the Milan derby. Haaland hits 100 goals and no home run for Leo Messi in the Bronx. This is the morning kick around. Morning. Welcome to the very first edition of Morning Kick Around, an American bite at the world's game. My name is Robert Kerr, up from the lower leagues. Very happy and proud to be joined by one of the foremost voices of soccer in America, Mr. Jason Davis.
Wow, lots of pressure, Robert. Thanks. Foremost. I don't think I've ever been called foremost anything. Foremost jerk face? Maybe. By my child, of course, by my kid. Dad, you're a foremost jerk face. Anyway, thank you for introducing me. I'm glad to be here. Ready to do this. Let's see what we can make Morning Kick Around be.
Morning Kick Around, 9:30 Eastern Time, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It is Monday, September 23rd. I am glowing. Every single one of my sports teams in all the leagues across soccer and non-football teams won this weekend. How about yourself? How did you fare in between the lines this weekend?
Well, let me see. Let me think about it. Fulham won. Very happy about that. My American football team won that for the first time this season. We're not talking about it, but I'm glad that happened. Atleti drew. Not too happy about that one, but you take what you can get, I guess. I'm pretty good today, Robert, on that front.
Pretty good today. Hopefully, we're gonna have some fun here as we progress, getting this show rolling. If you want to support, we're just getting rolling. Like and subscribe to the channel, Morning Kick Around on YouTube, morningkickaround@gmail.com. If you want to get a hold of us here, questions, comments, concerns, partnership opportunities, all of the above. And of course, the social medias. We dadded up pretty hard, but we try to dabble into the socials at mkickaround on the X and the Instagram.
If you want to call me foremost jerkface, you can do that through these opportunities to connect. That's how you do that.
Yeah, what's your favorite platform to be called the foremost jerkface?
I've been called something like or worse than foremost jerkface on X many times over 10 years. So, why not? Why not keep it going? Keep it rolling over there.
All right, let's keep it rolling, and let's start off with our first segment of the day, the big headlines here on Monday. Let's go to those long balls. All right, long balls here on Morning Kick Around, the biggest stories of the day. I'm going to throw this one up long, go Route 1. And can Jason Davis bring it down and run with it? Christian Pulisic is becoming AC Milan's best attacking player. Scored in a winning effort at the weekend. What do you think? 31 goal contributions. He's leading the way in Serie A.
Yeah, 31 goal contributions since the beginning of last season, which I believe has him tied with Lautaro Martinez for the most of any Serie A player. Now, I haven't seen this. This is a stat that's getting thrown out everywhere, and rightfully so. Obviously for us Americans, Robert, we want to fly the flag. We want to go, rah, 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 USA, look at our guy go. I don't know how this compares to, Erling Haaland probably has 812 goal contributions since the beginning of last year. Some of these other guys, Kylian Mbappe, name your player, Vinicius Jr. I don't know how that compares to other great players across Europe, but considering the thought, the things that were dogging Christian Pulisic when he arrived in Milan at the beginning of last season, after the Chelsea period, things had soured. He wasn't playing. He had been injured quite a bit. All of these things, people didn't know if he could reach that top level again. He had some moments. I think that we were hanging our hat on, okay, he scored in a semifinal against Real Madrid in a Champions League. There were no people in the building. There were 3 ushers ushering nobody back then because of COVID. And it was okay, well, how good is Christian Pulisic? And I still don't know. We're going to talk about this a little bit deeper coming up in a later segment, but I still don't know exactly where I rate him. But man, he's on fire. That goal that he scored in the Milan derby, which ultimately AC Milan won, which was not expected, right? Everybody thought that Inter was going to crush Milan in that game because of just form and obviously defending champion versus an also ran. The fact that he took the ball the way he did and made that goal his, and that wasn't a cheap goal, that wasn't a tap in, that wasn't somebody, somebody doing all the work and setting him up. This was Christian Pulisic making that goal happen. I was incredibly impressed by that.
Yeah, he went full alpha mode there. He turned, saw his opening, split the defense, and finished with a flourish. And we haven't really seen too much of that. To your point, I mean, we've seen him be in the right place at the right time, and maybe be opportunistic. But that he really took that moment by the scruff of the neck.
Well, I mean, look, this. Okay, we know he is excellent in space with the ball at his feet. We know he can beat players off the dribble. Finishing, I think it's a strength of his. But I don't know that if you were saying, hey, name the top 25 or 30 finishers in the world, people would get to Christian Pulisic. He might not be on that list, and maybe that's because of his position as much as it is about the kind of finisher he is. But you would have a lot of other players before him. And in this game, and obviously in the Champions League loss to Liverpool, he proved that when he takes on that opportunity, he can finish in a way that makes you a great player, right? We as Americans are hesitant to start throwing around words like great and phrases like world class about American players. So some people may be jumping to that, and I don't know again like why we have to wrestle with it. Let's take the guy on his merits. And sure, he couldn't do this at Chelsea, but I think so much of this is clearly about the circumstances that he was facing in London. And he has a team that believes in him. He's had, obviously, now multiple managers who have continued to give him opportunities. There was some talk going into this game, of course, that Paulo Fonseca's job might be on the line. And I had some Milan people tell me that, hey, it might not even matter what happens in this game. Fonseca might be gone. Now, I don't know that they can fire a guy who just won a Milan derby against Inter when they weren't supposed to. I don't know if that's possible, Raz. I think Zlatan Ibrahimovic is supposed to make this decision, right? Right. He's the one now in charge at Milan. Does anybody know what's really going on there? But the fact that, again, the fact that he continues to get opportunities, that he's playing for one of the biggest clubs in the world and not shrinking from that moment, and he's outperforming the it kid at Milan in Rafael Leao over the past 2 seasons, says a lot about Christian Pulisic.
When he's healthy and been in a good situation, I mean, Pulisic has flourished. But speaking of another it kid on the British Isles, that guy Erling Haaland hit his 100th goal in just 105 appearances in what turned out to be a 2-2 result. Man City versus Arsenal.
So do we think that he is 100% artificial, or is he a cyborg, or is there something higher level than cyborg? Does this involve like some biohacking situation? Exactly what is Erling Haaland? That's what I need to know, because this is obviously it's ridiculous how many goals he's scored for City since arriving, and to do it in this game, obviously, there's been this thing that has dogged Erling Haaland a little bit, that he can score goals against the weaker sisters of the Premier League, that he can beat up on some of the lesser teams, and he'll score hat tricks. I mean, he had 2 hat tricks in a row. Can he get a third? Obviously, he didn't. He got 2 goals in that game, right? He got 2 goals in that game. So he had a 3-game run with 7 goals. Against the type of teams he was scoring against, it was like, okay, of course, those teams aren't very good. Now, it's also fair to say that nobody else has scored like Erling Haaland at that rate in the Premier League, regardless of whether they were doing it against relegation fodder or mid-table teams or whatever. But he scores on the biggest stage against City's biggest rival for the title. It's a great pass from Savinho. It's a great finish. It's what Erling Haaland is the best finisher in the world right now. I don't think there's any argument about that. And yeah, a 100 in 105 games is... I don't know how to explain that. That's not supposed to happen. He broke the game.
If he stays healthy, every single record that still remains will be his. It's important to note that Ronaldo at Madrid did the same 100 goals in 105 games, which is just unreal. But we're seeing numbers that we haven't seen in over a decade.
Well, so let me ask you then, though, because, okay, Ronaldo at Madrid, and as much as I love La Liga, and I think a lot of people respect La Liga, and you would say that, in terms of the technical ability that's on the field week to week, La Liga may be the best league in the world for that. But I think we would all argue, or would all believe that the Premier League is deeper, right? The quality all the way down the table from 1 to 20 is the highest in the world. Like, there may be 5 or 6 or 8 Bundesliga teams that could beat any team in the Premier League. There will be, those things are true, right? Bundesliga, La Liga has some very good teams at the top end, but what they don't have is the depth all the way down the table. So for Ronaldo to do it at Madrid, it feels different. And Ronaldo was a machine too. And I'm not saying that Holland has passed Cristiano Ronaldo. Clearly, he has not in terms of world status and greatness across a career. Holland has lots of years left ahead of him to continue to prove it, and Ronaldo was so consistent. But man, I think this is a more impressive achievement, than what Ronaldo did at Madrid.
It's hard to say that, but I did also want to ask, other than City fans and just like stats nerds in general,
Yeah.
is Haaland a likable player? Other
Oh,
than just
that's
like being in awe
wow.
of his achievements, is he a likable player?
Well, it's interesting that to bring Ronaldo into this conversation then, based on his numbers at Madrid, because I think Cristiano Ronaldo was also that kind of player, that he divided opinion. Now, that was a lot about preening and ego and public image and all those things that made Ronaldo kind of off-putting, whereas Haaland is not that player at all. But I think he's got, okay, for Americans, since we'll make it about us, that's what this show is going to be about, by the way. Our,
Yep.
our motto on Morning Kick Around is we're going to make it about us, meaning American soccer fans. Erling Haaland has very strong Mighty Ducks bad guy energy, right?
Yeah.
He presents as this villain from a kids movie from the 90s with the blonde hair and the ponytail and the Nordic thing about him. And you kind of don't want to root for that guy. Like, and obviously you throw in the City factor as well. And you cannot disconnect Erling Haaland from City and what he's doing because they are dragging those 115 charges around with them that are now getting their hearing. We know them as the dominant team of the Premier League over the last 8-9 seasons, whatever it is now. And people are tired of City. Like, please, somebody. I had a conversation this weekend with a guy who's a Chelsea fan, so I didn't, whatever. He chose poorly, at least in my mind. I'm giving a hard time. But he said, I'm tired of City. I just don't want City to win anymore. Let's somebody else do this. And, obviously Liverpool did it during COVID, but it feels, because of the goal scored in this game to split the points, we're back to that place of Arsenal doesn't have it. Like, I'm not sure Arsenal, if they had finished out that game and win, then we would be talking about Arsenal as the team that finally found a way to knock City off their pedestal. But because the late goal changed the complexion of the match and now a draw feels like a loss for Arsenal, that's going to be the narrative. And it's hard to like Erling Haaland in that context.
Yeah, late goals, the theme, a lot of late goals across matches in all of the leagues. Coming home to the States, another late goal split the points. Messi, Suarez, and company went to Yankee Stadium this weekend, where Inter Miami thought they'd stolen 3 points on the road, but NYCFC featured a late equalizer to take some of those points away and damper that win in front of a huge crowd of over 44,000 at Yankee Stadium for a soccer game.
Yeah, I mean, it's fewer games than the Yankees get when they play against, I don't know, name a mediocre baseball team. I don't know my baseball at the moment. But I would say, what this means, Inter Miami is going to win the points title. They're going to win the Supporter Shield. That is a near certainty right now, right? I don't know what the math says about that, where we are on their magic number to clinch the Supporter Shield. But what it probably does is it means that they're not going to break the points record, which I think is still the Revs from a couple years back under Bruce Arena, right? So this is still a team. It's one of the more remarkable seasons in MLS history, and I don't mean to say that Inter Miami is the best team we've ever seen in the league's history. I'm saying that the way this has unfolded, the fact that they remade that roster, the fact they keep adding these players, and you're like, how are they doing that? And they have this mix of obviously these world-class players from their careers in Messi and Suarez and these guys. Obviously, the trio from Barcelona coming in changed the complexion, but they have also got some younger players that are making significant contributions. And I wonder how we're going to view this down the line. Obviously, it depends on the playoff run. Like, it depends on whatever happens in the playoffs. They won the Leagues Cup last year. Whoop-de-doo. I mean, it was fun to watch Messi step in to Major League Soccer and guide his team to a victory, but they were never going to make the playoffs. It was too much. It was too big of a hill to climb for them. In this case, they have been atop the table for so long that anything less than a championship is going to feel disappointing. And yet, if you are watching MLS, you know that the Galaxy are damn good. You know LAFC are really good on their day. You know that Columbus probably plays the best soccer in the league and is not close to a supporter shield this season. And so you can't discount them. And if you are just one of those people who maybe started paying attention to MLS because of Messi's arrival, you might go, oh, look, Columbus, they're 8 points back? They're in third place. They're probably pretty good, but they're not Messi, Inter Miami good. No, they probably are. And it's going to be fun to watch when we get to the playoffs.
When folks ask you about Inter Miami, how do you explain it to them, the people that are trying to get into MLS? Because people definitely see that Messi has Suarez and Busquets and Alba. When people ask you, how did they build that team in MLS? How do you answer that question?
Wait, are you asking me to explain MLS roster rules and budgets and
to a layman? Because I've been asked that, MLS teams don't usually have players like this, do they? And it's like, they change the rules if for the right opportunity and the right person.
Well, look, it's like what's happening with LAFC, right? We're like, oh, okay, they added Olivier Giroud. Oh, how do they have Hugo Lloris playing goal for them? Well, the location, the lifestyle, the fact that those players have oftentimes made a ton of money already makes it a different proposition for them. I mean, this is something, it's one of those things that kind of feels unfair, but obviously isn't, because you can't do anything about it. You can't level the playing field unless you are allocating players, and then those players won't sign with MLS because nobody wants to be allocated and not choose their own destination. But Bruce Arena said this not that long ago, that it was about the Galaxy. It's like, there's no excuse for not being good in Los Angeles, because players want to live in Los Angeles. You should be able to get a higher caliber of player for a better value than most of the teams in the league. And that's not to say that there aren't some very nice places to live, but most players coming from Europe in particular, and probably from South America too, are going Miami, Los Angeles, maybe New York. That's it. That's a list. You should have no reason not to be able to compete at a high level in Major League Soccer if you were in those cities. And that sometimes the simple explanation for how did they fit that player under their cap is that player took a very, very, very big salary cut in order to play in that place. And Chris Henderson is leveraging it in Miami, and Will Coons is leveraging it in Los Angeles, and John Thorrington has done a good job of it in LA as well. And you see the results of it right now.
So the layman's terms is, it's Miami and they already made their money.
Yeah, man. They made a bunch of money. They want to live in Miami. In the case of Suarez, in the case of Busquets, in the case of Alba, they want to play with Lionel Messi. Now, Lionel Messi can command whatever he wants. Lionel Messi can have the entire league if he wants to on some level, because he's got that kind of star power. But for these other guys, if they want to continue to play and they want to live in America and they want to have one last chance or two last chances, depending on how old they are, to make a run at a championship. And that's the thing about MLS. It's attractive for reasons that are difficult a lot of times for us as Americans to understand, because we're not coming from a European, South American mentality.
Thank you, Jason. 3 long balls sent your way brought them down with incredible success.
Not with my hands. Not with my hands. With my feet. You can't see my feet, but I did do that. Thank you very much, Robert.